Today's Democrat Party is held hostage by haters, absolute haters, left-wing haters, angry mobs, deep state radicals, and their fake news allies. Those people are the best. They're the best allies they've got. I mean, you look at the Washington Post or the New York Times, I can never get a good story. I mean, you look at this horrible thing that took place today, it's really, is it subversion? Is it treason? It's a horrible thing. Even, you know the good thing about that? Even liberals that hate me say, that's terrible what they did. And it is really terrible. You know, when I won the election, the New York Times, all their subscribers were leaving. And when I'm ultimately no longer president in hopefully about 6.5 years from now, the New York Times will go out of business. All of them will be out of business. CNN will be out of business. They're almost out of business now if you look at their ratings. They're close to out of business. But they'll be out of business. But the New York Times, you remember, it was very famous. Nobody's ever seen it before. Maybe never done before. They apologized for their bad coverage of me. They apologized to their subscribers because after I won, everyone said, what the hell happened? What happened? We're reading this piece of garbage, and the guy that they kill every day, he won. So they wrote, does anybody remember? There was a very big story. They wrote an apology to their subscribers to stop the flow of people leaving and giving up their subscription to the New York Times. And it was quite amazing to watch. And you know, honestly, for 2 weeks, they really covered me well. And then it began. And then it got worse and worse and worse, and now we've reached an all-time level. The level of hatred is quite great, but that's okay. On the way over here, I saw a liberal pundit. He was filled with anger, and he was attacking me and our great administration. We have great people. I'll tell you, the White House is really working good. My wife put out a tweet today. Did you see that she doesn't do this. She put out a tweet. They had me stomping around, screaming with anger up in my area of the White House where I live with my wife and son, Barron. They had me screaming, shouting like a lunatic. And I had a television. I said, what are they saying? I had 6 people in my office. I was in the Oval Office. And we were having a talk on trade. Actually, it happened to be trade with Canada. They were telling me what's happening. And they said, sir, you're not up there screaming and ranting and raving. You're here talking. That's how dishonest it's become. But I asked a young, bright staffer of mine, why are they so filled with this much hatred? Why? Our country's thriving, jobs are booming, prosperity is soaring, and the future has never looked brighter for the USA. And the young aide looked at me and he said, Mr. President, these liberal pundits, they're haters, but they're so angry because you've upset their entire way of life. It's true. But I said, but let's get this straight. So the country's really doing well. And he looked at me and he said something that maybe is true. I find it hard to believe. He said, sir, they just don't care. It's really pretty sad, right? You know, when you look at what's happening with all of it, including our military rebuilding, we're rebuilding, and everything that we're building is being made right here. The best missiles in the world, the best planes in the world, the best ships in the world. It's all being made right here in the United States. The so-called resistance is angry because their horrible ideas have been rejected by the American people, and it's driving them crazy. Crazy. They're the ones, honestly, that have been driven crazy. The latest act of resistance is the op-ed published in the failing New York Times by an anonymous, really an anonymous, gutless coward. You just look. He was, nobody knows who the hell he is, or she, although they put he, but probably that's a little disguise. That means it's she. But for the sake of our national security, the New York Times should publish his name at once. I think their reporters should go and investigate who it is. That would actually be a good scoop. That would be a good scoop. Unelected deep state operatives who defy the voters to push their own secret agendas are truly a threat to democracy itself. And I was so heartened when I looked. I think it's backfired. Seriously, people that don't exactly dig us and they don't exactly like me, they're fighting for us. It's an incredible, it's actually a beautiful thing. We've picked up a lot of support because at some point this whole thing is going to be exposed. And it's really bad and it's really dangerous and it's really sad for the media and the mainstream media. It really is sad. When I told you about the good news coming out of Korea today, they will hardly even report it. If this were President Obama, that would be the biggest story in the history of our country. But it's going to be, sooner or later, it will be exposed. The policies of our political opponents have brought about only failure, destruction, and humiliation to our country. Look at what happened. Look at where we were and look at where we are. And we have tremendous potential upward. And other countries, by the way, are not doing well at all. And had I not won, we would have been in negative. We wouldn't be at 4.2. We would have been in negative numbers. We were going down. We were low and we were headed down. We freed up this country with the regulations and the tax cuts. We freed up our country, and it's great to watch.